Hey, welcome. Today, we're diving into a huge question for pretty much anyone who teaches or leads. How do we create learning experiences that actually truly motivate students? Because here's the secret. It's not about finding motivated students. It's about designing an environment that creates them.
You know this scene, right? Every educator, every parent has wondered about it. You look out at a group of learners, some are leaning in, their eyes are lit up, and they are totally with you. And then others, they've completely checked out. So, what is the secret sauce? What really makes that difference?
And right here, this is the idea that changes the entire game. This quote just flips the whole script. See, we tend to think motivation is a personality trait. You either have it or you don't. But what if it's not? What if it's something we can intentionally design? That completely shifts our focus from trying to fix the student to fixing the learning environment itself. All right, so first things first, let's talk about what's called the motivation myth. This is that old common belief that some kids are just born motivated and others, well, they just aren't. We have to totally dismantle that way of thinking before we can build up something new and way more effective. This is the big shift in perspective. It's moving away from looking at a student and thinking they're unmotivated, and instead seeing motivation as a design challenge. The question completely changes. It's no longer, why isn't this student motivated? Instead, it becomes, how can I design this lesson, this activity, this classroom to be motivating? And just like that, the power is back in our hands as educators. So if motivation is something we can design, how do we actually do it? What does that look like? Well, it is time to open up the toolkit. I'm going to walk you through 3 really powerful, practical strategies you can start using, like tomorrow. First up in the toolkit, choice boards. Honestly, just think of it like a menu at a restaurant, but for learning. When you give students a set of good options for how they want to learn something, or show you what they know, you're immediately building a sense of ownership. They're in the driver's seat. They get to pick the path that feels right for them. And check out how simple but powerful this can be. Let's say you're doing a science unit. Instead of making every single student write the exact same report, imagine giving them this choice board. You could make a comic strip, record a podcast, design a poster. This taps directly into their strengths and what they actually find interesting. And boom, the work is instantly more meaningful to them. All right, our second strategy is goal setting. Now, the key here isn't just about having goals, it's about who sets them. This is all about empowering students to set their own personal learning goals. When they're the ones deciding what success looks like for them, their investment in the whole process just skyrockets.
And look, these goals don't have to be some huge monumental thing. They can be small, daily intentions. A student just deciding for themselves, okay, today my goal is to really understand one new thing, or I'm going to make sure I ask 2 questions. That's a student who is taking active control of their own learning. It makes it about progress, not just performance.
And the third tool in our kit, collaborative learning. We have to remember learning is social. It just is. So when we intentionally design opportunities for students to work together, to talk and build on each other's ideas, they're not just learning the content, they're building communication skills. And, maybe most importantly, they get to see things from a totally different point of view. So these strategies all sound pretty good in theory, right? But what do they actually look like in a real, messy, busy classroom? Let's jump into a few mini case studies to see them in action. Our first story brings us into a kindergarten classroom. The teacher here was dealing with a really diverse group of kids. Some had attention challenges, some were just learning English, a real mix. So the teacher's strategy here was just brilliant. They told a story using puppets and music, engaging multiple senses. But here's the magic design element. They offered a choice. After the story, kids could choose to act it out, or draw a picture about it, or even retell it to a friend. That one simple act of giving a choice had a massive impact. Engagement went through the roof, the kids were more focused, more excited, and everyone could participate. Okay, next up, let's fast forward to 7th grade science. There was a teacher who was really struggling to get her students invested in a unit on ecosystems. Sound familiar? So her solution was a choice board for the big final project. Instead of one standard assignment for everyone, students could pick, make a slideshow, build a diorama, or even record a funny news report about their ecosystem. The result was immediate. The kids who were normally checked out suddenly took real ownership of their work. The creativity was just incredible because they had control over how they showed what they learned. And for our last story, let's see how this plays out with older students. This one comes from a high school math class, which, as we know, can be a place where motivation is a huge hurdle for a lot of kids. The strategy here was all about goal setting. But the teacher didn't just tell them to work harder. They actually taught the students how to set their own meaningful, achievable goals for the week and then reflect on that progress in a journal. This one simple practice completely changed the culture of the classroom. Students started to develop a growth mindset, seeing challenges as learning opportunities, and they even started asking for help on their own.
Now, these stories are awesome, but it is not magic. There's real hard science explaining why all of this works so well. So let's peek under the hood for a second and look at the motivated brain.
The reason these strategies are so effective is because they connect directly to the brain's emotional command center. You can think of it like the brain's gatekeeper for all learning. This part of the brain is constantly asking, is this interesting? Is this stressful? Is this relevant to me? And its answer determines whether we lean in and engage or tune out and pull away.
And this slide just lays it out so clearly. On the left, you've got a brain that feels bored or unsafe or stressed out. That brain literally shuts down. It avoids challenges and is closed off. But look at the right. When we design for motivation, when a student feels safe, when they see why it matters, when they have some choice, their brain becomes open, curious, and totally ready to learn. We are literally designing a better state for learning.
So let's bring it all home with the key takeaways. First and foremost, engagement isn't something we should expect from students, it's something we have to design for. Second, your most powerful design tools are choice, relevance, and collaboration. Use them. And finally, always remember you're designing for a human brain, one that is wired for emotion and connection. If you can keep that in mind, motivation will follow. So I want to leave you with this one final thought. You do not have to go back and change everything overnight. Just start small. Think about the people you teach or lead. What is one single, simple choice you could design into their experience tomorrow that might just spark a little more curiosity, a little more engagement?